Madam President, I rise today to dispel a dangerous notion, one that I have seen too frequently in newspapers, heard on TV, and just among people, commentators, and others in the wake of the violence in Israel. The dangerous notion is that there is a moral equivalence between the actions and reactions of Israel and the Palestinian state to the violence and response in the Middle East, or the Palestinian people, really, more so than the state. Madam President, it must be said, there is no moral equivalence between the actions and reactions of Israel and Hamas and the Palestinian Authority to the violence that has occurred there. Two instances make that very, very clear. We all witnessed terrible tragedies occurring in that tortured region of the world. We are now all familiar with both the kidnapping and cold-blooded murder of 3 Israeli boys, and in what seems to be payback, the killing of a young Palestinian teenager. Both were abhorrent, and the losses of the families on both sides cannot be understated. But I think what we ought to focus on, we all know, by the way, Madam President, that each side has its fanatics. Each side experiences tragedy of the highest order, and what I am saying does not apply to all the people on either side, particularly the Palestinian side. But the reaction is what counts. What was the reaction among too many Palestinians to the murder of these 3 boys? They were almost exultant, they were treated as heroes. The mother of one of the supposed murderers, people who were suspected of the murder of the Israelis, Abu Aisha, said, "If my son truly did it, I'll be proud of him till my final day." That's what she said, "I'll be proud." Those who were purported to kill the 3 Israelis were regarded as heroes, not just among a small segment in the West Bank and in Gaza, but among large numbers of people. There were parades, they were honored. That was the reaction. Now, let's compare that to Israel's reaction when a group of Israeli fanatics killed the Palestinian teenager. The Israeli people, in large part, were aghast. They said, "We have to find who did it and bring them to justice." Prime Minister Netanyahu called them terrorists, those who might have killed that Palestinian, equal to the terrorism on the other side of the 3 who killed the Israelis. And Israel made every effort to find those and have now made arrests. While the leader of the Palestinian Authority condemned the killing of the 3 Israeli boys, there was no such effort on the Palestinian side to find those who did it to bring them to justice. There was no calls of universal condemnation. How can we compare the two sides? How can people say, "Oh, the Israelis, oh, the Palestinians, it's one big fight, they're all the same"? It is not. Again, regretfully, there are fanatics on both sides, and I abhor the Israeli fanatics. They make things bad for the vast majority of Israelis who want to live in peace in a 2-state solution. But the vast majority of Israelis condemn the Jewish fanatics. The vast majority of Palestinians seem to praise the Palestinian terrorists, and Hamas, one of the 2 main governing organizations in Gaza and the West Bank, loudly praises the kidnapping and killing of the 3 Israeli boys. Is there moral equivalency here, or are both sides sort of acting the same? And by the way, when you read Palestinian textbooks and go to schools and read about what the children are taught, vitriolic hatred, not only of Israel but even of the Jewish people, you sometimes understand. Maybe not support, but condemn, but sort of gain some inkling of understanding why so many are so filled with hatred. But who is putting out those textbooks? Not just Hamas, the Palestinian Authority and many Palestinian governing units. So the reaction of Israel, its government, and its society to the killing of an innocent Palestinian youth, and the reaction of the Palestinian authorities and people, in large part, to the killing of 3 Israeli youths show that there is no moral equivalency because the reaction was totally different. And then let's take what happened yesterday. It's the same thing. You read all the headlines, Israel and Palestinians fighting with each other, rockets sent on both sides, air raids sent on both sides. But let's look at what happened. Hamas sent rockets into the heart of Israel to kill innocent civilians, no warnings, not in response to anything Israel did, they just decided to send these rockets. Some commentators say it's because they're weak now that Egypt will no longer let them get all those supplies through the tunnels. What is Israel's response? Of course, they have to eliminate the rockets and rocket launchers. But what other society sends leaflets to the houses that have these rocket launchers and say, "Please vacate"? What other society tries to call people on cell phones and say, "Leave, we have to get rid of the rocket launchers, we don't want to kill innocent people"? That's what Israel did. Did Hamas send any warnings to the people of Sderot, or Beersheba, or Jerusalem, or Tel Aviv that they were sending rockets indiscriminately into civilian areas? No. Did Hamas do this in response to Israel? No. So this idea, again in the papers, oh, both sides are fighting, what would you do? They're both sort of equally wrong, is morally abhorrent to me and to many others. There is, Madam President, in conclusion, no moral equivalency to the way these two states, and frankly, in large part with some exceptions, two societies, react to the horrible murders of young people. Israel said, condemning the Israelis who did it, too many Palestinians praising the Palestinians who did it. And in response to rockets sent into civilian areas, Israel tries to limit its response to military targets and let civilians who might be near those targets know that they should evaluate. We all pray for peace in the Middle East, Madam President, I certainly do. There has been too much death, too much anguish, too much insecurity. But we are not going to achieve peace by equating the two sides and saying they are equivalent, morally or in any other way. The steps that the beleaguered nation of Israel takes to try and protect itself are far different than so many of the aggressive actions of too many on the Palestinian side with too much support from too many of the Palestinian people. There is no moral equivalency. I yield the floor.